Really excited.
Butterflies.
So actually, Gabriel Dino, mental performance coach for a bunch of professional soccer athletes, talks about turning stage fright, performance anxiety into excitement.
Of course.
And that's what we're about to do in this podcast. Guys, I'm Jake Lowe, former Pac-12 record-holding long snapper from Stanford. After an injury took my career, I lost my identity and purpose, and now I help student athletes break through limiting beliefs and build confidence by building a strong identity. I'm sitting here with good friend and coach Langston Provett.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Jake. It's awesome. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm excited, man. This is something that we do on a daily basis. We just spit game and talk about all the wonderful things that we get to do with our clients, our athletes, these people, and how we wish we were, blessed and fortunate to have this in our lives when we played, man. It's amazing. So I'm excited. So, Jake, I came prepared today with a bunch of questions. Reached out to a lot of the athletes that I used to work with or currently work with and parents, and they brought some fire. So
that's it.
I'm going to ask you one or two, and we'll see how far you go with it, and then go from there. You ready?
That's it.
All right, first question. What's the best methodology and practices that student athletes need to incorporate to instill positive self-thoughts, confidence, and belief in themselves to perform and compete at a high level? So what are some of your favorite methodologies and practices to have your athletes do to have those true self-confidence and belief in themselves and perform at a high level?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think mindset is king, but action follows up very, very closely. You could have the right mindset. You could follow mentality on Instagram. You could follow, Tom Brady, but if you don't take any action, right, you're nothing.
So why is mindset king?
Mindset is king because obviously everything starts in the mind, right? You have to have a vision, a purpose, an identity, and direction, and all that kind of stuff, right? You kind of have to have a roadmap, but then you actually have to drive the car. You got to take action on it. And your nervous system, like I said before, really believes more emotion and action than it does just literal thought, right? And so you have to hardwire and program into yourself and create those neural pathways of I take action on what I think and not just think to think and, think I'm this and think I'm great, right? And you should think those things, but if you take action on it and there's concrete evidence of it, right? And I'm not saying you need to go out and hit 500 at a tournament. I'm not saying you need to go out and go 20 for 25, 380 yards and 4 touchdowns, right? What I'm saying is you need to go out and practice like you're going to throw 20 for 25, 380 yards, right? How are you going to foam roll to throw 80%? How are you going to sleep to throw 80%? How are you going to make your bed to throw a slant? I said that to Jack Moses, one of my quarterbacks from Benedictine College. I was like, the way you make your bed is the way you throw a slant, right? So if you can do one thing as you do everything, right? When you get to the game, that's your identity. That's who you are. You fall to that level, right? You might not throw 80%, right? But when defenses see you walk on the field with that authority, with that conviction, with that purpose, that action, that identity, right? Subconsciously, they're going to be scared. They'll be like, we got to bring our A game to beat this guy, right? And so you'll go out there with the mentality of I am 80% completion percentage because I've trained this way. I sleep this way, right? I eat this way. I do everything the same. I take my tests like I'm an 80% completion quarterback. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So for them to take home, what's the step-by-step?
How you do one thing is how you do everything.
So start doing everything the way.
Well, figure out what you want. Who do you want to become? I want to play in college. Why? Where do you want to play? Why do you want to play? What's college going to open up for you? What are you going to major in? Or what are you interested in, right? I wouldn't pick on a major, that early, like in high school. But getting very specific here. Like, okay, we found the end goal. Let's reverse engineer it, right? What do I need to do to set myself up for success to get there? How can I literally bulletproof the process? How can I bulletproof my belief system, my nervous system, my confidence, right? So that way when a coach does come by, when a coach watches my film, they go, I'll be stupid not to offer this kid. I'll be stupid not to reach out for him, right? Because if you want to perform on the field like a 4-star, like a 5-star, right? If you're playing video games 4 hours a day, right? First of all, you have no dopamine, you have no motivation, right? But those aren't 4 or 5-star habits, right? And if you are a 4 or 5 star that plays video games for 4 hours a day, I got news for you. College is going to be tough. But, right, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And before I get too specific, right, you should make your bed like you throw a slant.
This one came from a good athlete I used to coach. He's playing pro ball right now. He said, how do athletes keep their identity separate from their sport? I see that as a big challenge for myself and others, something that I think causes the most mental fatigue.
Kind of a summation of what we've talked about this whole time. Who are you outside the game, right? And if you don't know, it's fine, right? Especially like in high school or college, right? There's a lot of pressure to figure out who you are, right? Oh, I got to get a job in 2 years. Who am I? Like, who am I? Who am I? There's a nice balance between having a long-term vision and being present in the moment. That's a tricky question, right? How old is that athlete that I'm trying to give advice to?
22.
22? Senior in college?
20, 21. He's playing pro ball right now.
He's playing pro ball, the minor league player.
Yeah.
It's very tough to detach from an identity of a minor league player because everything's do or die for them. If you can detach away from the game, if you can have faith in yourself on and off the field and do everything the same way, right? Like I said earlier, shower off that performance, detach from it, propel yourself, find those weak points, right? That kind of thing. You'll be set up. But if you don't detach from the game, right? If you are too obsessed with it, which I don't think that's a thing, but if you overconsume the game, if you overconsume your playbook, right, you'll burn out because you're using too much brain power, right? So you have to step away from the game. You have to have days where you don't go on your phone, where you don't play video games, when you spend a lot of time by yourself. You go walk, you breathe, you meditate, right? You get away from the game, you recover, right? You focus on your body, right? Get out of your mind a little bit while also resting. Tricky combination there. But you have to step away from the game. You have to do whatever it takes to step away from the game. And also another thing I think you can do here is some shadow work. What's the worst thing that can happen with baseball? Right? Make some peace with that, right? It's hard to make a full peace with losing baseball, right? Especially if you don't make it to the majors, right? But make some peace with it. That way the fear doesn't hold that much power over you, holds less. And you can go into it a little more faith, a little more conviction, a little more confidence. That's a tricky question. I'd have to dive into that one more.
Yeah, I mean,
a little more specific.
I love what you said, especially about you have to build that identity off the field first, right? And I think that's the starting point. It's like, who are you at the deepest level, right? Why are you here? What's your purpose with this all? What's your purpose within the game, right? And how does who you are affect this world and make this world a better place, right? And I think you start there, right? And then I would say is love yourself regardless of the results, right? And I think like what you said about doing some shadow work within the game, you know, of what's the worst that could happen if I don't make it.
Right. How do you love yourself outside of the game when you're so attached to the game and when you have to be as a minor league player?
Yeah.
But you have to be unhealthily attached to the game as a minor league player. Is it about accepting that fact, right? And then really doubling down on like active recovery and making sure that you step away from the game when you have those 4 hours a day to step away from the game, making sure you're sleeping, making sure you're not scrolling too much?
Yeah.
Do you have to accept that or do you have to fight it? I wouldn't recommend fighting it, right? But when you have to be on the bus 8 hours a day, right? When you have to play games tired, sore, right? Because a lot of pitchers at that level pitch 3 or 4 times a week, right? You don't have a choice but to be immersed in the game.
Yeah.
So do you just accept that, right? Don't fight it and put yourself in the best fighting chance possible? It's tricky there. That's why I asked. The scenario really matters, right? Because it's a high school player. Look, it's easy to step away from the game, right? You got homework. Yeah, you might have a girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
But how do you step away from it as a minor leaguer? Major leaguer, it's a little safer. You get the money, right? Some guaranteed money there, so it's a little safer. But as a minor leaguer, how do you step away from the game when you have to be attached to it in order to go where you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, the what comes up for me is getting clear on releasing the need, right? Yes, there is an obsessiveness that you have to make it to that level, right? To play at that level and to play beyond that. But it's releasing the need to perform at the level that you're expected to, right? It's getting clear on expectations. It's getting clear on that identity that's outside of the game does not change whether or not you become who you want to become in the game, right? It's tricky, of course. But it starts there. It starts with once you know who you are, right? And really know who you are. And it takes a lot. It takes some deep work. It takes some uncomfortable times, right? It takes you looking yourself in the mirror and doing a lot of self-love work and going into talking to your inner child and going back and say, hey, you're safe. You are loved unconditionally. There's nothing that you can do that will make you enough. You are enough as you are. And it's going to that place and really loving yourself and then giving everything you have. If you love the game, your identity isn't the game. Your identity is whatever you shape it to be. But if it's somebody who gives everything they have and loves themselves unconditionally and loves their sport unconditionally, then you do that and the result is the result. Wow. But what's more important is that you know who you are and you resonate that unconditional that unconditional love and everything that you do. And I think that's a game changer because then it's like, God only knows. You can give everything you have. I would rather you say, I'm going to play in the big leagues. Not I'd like to, like I'm going to, if that's what you want. But surrendering to the process that either way, no matter what the outcome is, I'm going to be my identity and I'm going to love myself and love what I represent.
Right.
Regardless.
So that brings me to two things. One, expectation. My opinion, your only expectation out of yourself should be to control what you can control. Right? So your routine, your process, your attitude, your effort and behavior, identity, those kinds of things. What was your lowest point in your athletic career? Like, just give me a time frame. Because that brings me to another question. I know mine.
I have a couple. Yeah, yours is dark, man, and I feel for you, and I'm very, very, very happy to see the man you've become.
I wasn't thinking of that, but I was thinking of at a game my junior year of high school where like we were playing a really bad team and I had a horrible performance. Probably like if you were to score, it had a D or an F. But I had 11 tackles that game probably, right? Double-digit tackles, a couple for loss, right? Had a 25-yard catch I can remember. We ran a trick play. Was positive out of that. And then later that season, we played them again. It was COVID, so we played a team twice. And I killed them. Now, that weekend was not fun at home. Pops was not happy about my performance, but use it as fuel as fire. Now, to go back, what was your lowest point in your athletic career? Just give me a time frame. Don't have to overthink this one.
I mean, there's two that immediately come to mind. The first one was stepping away from college football, and in everything.
How about like more playing? Like think about like a time where you were in a slump in any sport, any point in your career.
Well, I've had plenty of those. Anybody who's played baseball, slumps are part of the process, man. I've had slumps from 7 years old all the way up to 23 years old in college. There's two that come to mind. I'll go with the most recent one. So playing college baseball at Jacksonville University. The grind to get to that level right? Leaving football, having no attention in baseball at all, right? No love, no respect, nobody valuing my skill set. And to be fair, my skill set wasn't very strong when I came back to baseball. Just being honest.
Had a good raw foundation probably, right?
I was very athletic.
Yeah, right,
and
exactly.
fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Skill set, though, no, it wasn't there. But, you know, finally, after 4 years of grinding, made it to Division I level, earned it. And I earned a starting spot in game 1, playing against West Virginia. I'm in left field, fired up. It's a night game. And
at West Virginia?
At home in Jacksonville.
Interesting.
Very, very competitive fall to earn a spot. And first inning, I lead off, or I think I hit either 1 or 2. I drew a walk, and pitcher picked off like 4 times in a row. And then I tried to steal on the next one, got picked off. First game, my D1 baseball career.
The guy wanted you out. He was pissed that
And then
he walked you. Oh my God.
And then I go
5 picks in a row is crazy.
And then I go to left field. Top of the second, drop a fly ball.
Okay, so if you were you right now and you could magically appear right in that moment, you're running off the field, whatever you had in the dugout, you grab yourself. What do you say?
This doesn't define you.
Okay, well, yeah, yourself at 23 is probably like, yeah, okay, I've heard that 1,000 times. How do you get through?
Well, I had never heard that, but this doesn't define you.
How would you paint it out? Because they're going to be very emotional, right? You would be very emotional. Yeah. How do you paint it out to get through? Because you understand that, right? Yeah. You understand like the bigger picture thing I was talking about. You understand that the process is more important than the result and the growth and all that stuff. But how do you get through?
So I would tell myself, I would sit myself down in the dugout. Sit down. Sit down. I might even cuss at myself a little bit, just lock in. Because in that state, just being real, right? You know what it feels like to be down. You don't want to make eye contact. You don't want any, like.
What kind of down were you though? Were you more down, like hard on yourself? Were you more down? Well, excuse me. Were you more angry, or were you more, I guess, like in that hypo arousal? Like I feel bad about myself. I suck. You know,
I would say it was a combination of I was pissed off at myself and very disappointed.
So more angry, embarrassed. So more like hyper arousal. So you would need to calm yourself down. Talk to me.
So again, sit myself down, right? I would immediately say, hey, I need you to breathe. Let's start with me. Let's do a couple breaths. I'd immediately go parasympathetic breathing, right? 2 to 4 seconds in, 4 to 8 seconds out. So if I go 4 in, I go 8 seconds out. And I would have myself do that for probably at least a minute, right? You have time in the dugout, right?
Yeah, especially... You're probably not hitting that
beginning of the inning. Well, I just got picked off.
You're probably not hitting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully you are. But
if I hit in that inning, I have 20 minutes.
Yeah, you have some time.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm taking myself immediately to parasympathetic breathing. Downshift the nervous system. Calm yourself down. Look. Put yourself back in that moment. Right? What's the worst thing that can happen from that? Coach could take me out of the game. Okay.
He's not going to.
He did. Not that game, but he would do that. He was that type of coach, which right? But look, he could take you out of the game. And then what?
It's game 1.
And then what? Is that...
Do you want to mess up in game 1 or game 25?
Right.
When the bullets are really flying.
Does that define you?
Right. When do you want to mess up? You're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes, right?
Does that define the whole process of you getting to this point? No, of course not. You wouldn't be here if you let a single moment define you. No,
right. So knowing what you know now, how would you, in your second at bat, approach it? Not the field again, right? Because the field doesn't have as much pressure, right? There's a chance that you didn't even get a ball out to you before your second at bat. I don't know what happened, right? But your second at bat, all eyes are on you, right? Your coach is probably really dialed in on you, right? First game as a Jacksonville baseball player, he's like, who is this cocky kid, right? How do you approach it? You know, all eyes are on you. You know, there's a lot of expectation to perform and to make up, which shouldn't be the perspective, right? But it is.
Yeah. No, it's and
I
would coach myself to understand it's not about making up for your mistake, right? I would say the most important thing for you is to fall back into your routine, into your process. And I would, just like I prepare, right? Same way I look at my bat in batting practice, in the cages, when nobody's there, when I'm hitting off the tee, I would tell myself, just be you, go through your process the way you would any at bat at any time, and just play the game. And what do you love about hitting, right? What do you know about this pitcher from your preparation? And then other than that, just play the game, right? It's as soon as you get into, and I was in that mindset so many times, right? And that's why I was one of those people who fell out of love for baseball. But it was me trying to make up for my mistakes. And it's like, that's not the point.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I love that. So, Langston, this is a belief that all athletes have. Physical training will eventually override your confidence, your beliefs, and your nervous system. I couldn't disagree possibly more. I thought this as a child. Eventually, what's that?
And as an adult.
Why as an adult? Hold on.
When you played college ball, you were the same way.
Okay, well, as a college athlete, not an adult. But
18.
Can physical training eventually override your confidence, your beliefs, and what your nervous system actually believes? Or is it crucial to work on the mental side of the game to build an identity that's invincible, to build a vision?
What do you think?
But seriously, like, it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Right? Parents just think, oh, we're going to throw another trainer at my kid. I'm going to throw another pitching coach at my kid. I'm going to throw a hitting coach at my kid. Yeah. Right? And eventually, oh, no, you're reinforcing bad habits. Yeah. Right? Absolutely. It kind of goes back to earlier what I said about when you have an attribute that's lower, right? And you keep growing here and this doesn't come along, right? You're creating this gap between your physical abilities and your confidence, right? So if you create a bigger gap between your physical abilities and your confidence, what is that going to do to your confidence, right? You're going to create more doubt, more shame, more fear of failure because you're like, oh, well, I can perform. Like I've done this in practice. Mm-hmm. I've done this in my training, and you can't do it in the game because your body doesn't believe it. Your belief system doesn't believe it, right? So if you're driving a car with the parking brake on, are you going to put more gas into it? Is it going to go any faster? Yeah, a little bit. Or are you just going to release the emergency brake? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It's tragic. We have so many people who just, like you said, everything starts in the mind. How are we going to neglect the mind if that's where everything starts?
Is it only the mind, though? What else? Where else does confidence root from? Where else do our beliefs root from? It's not just the mind. It's not surface level. It's subconscious.
Well, and that's part of what I'm saying with the mind, right? Your whole identity of who you are and what you believe and what you're about and what you represent. That's what I'm saying by your mind, right? Because I guess what I'm trying to say is it's tragic because people are just focusing on training their kids physically, right? But the mind, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, right? How can a kid ever expect to be able to handle a big situation when they never prepare their mind for that?
Well, when fight or flight comes, what's your nervous system trained to do? Is it trained to flight? Is it trained to run away? Is it trained to fight, uncontrollably? Right? What's it trained to do?
That's dependent on
right
your level of training. Navy
SEALs say you fall back to the level of your training, right? I experienced this as a long snapper in college, right? I only played 1 year at Stanford, right? And I was the backup long snapper my freshman year. Fortunately, I traveled to all games. I didn't play until game 11 when the starter went out. It was in the fourth quarter. I was cold, right? I didn't have my helmet on for 3 hours, right? I think I was doing stats or like literally scouting their special teams when all of a sudden I saw he went down. I had 5 minutes between that punt where he got hurt and the next punt to warm my body up and get ready, right? You think I magically learned how to long snap in 5 minutes? You think I magically, right, was prepared to do what I was supposed to do my assignment, right? Especially at that speed of the game where you don't have a chance to make conscious decisions, right? You have to be programmed for success. You have to be wired for success, right? Not guessing, not trying to make a decision, right? Still want to slow the game down, right? But no, I had put 5,000, 10,000 balls back, right? I had to build that trust over camp, over the season as well, and get myself ready for the crowd, right? And get my nervous system prepared to be bulletproof, right? Didn't train in perfect conditions. They used to put water on the footballs, right? They used to, in college too, we ran a pro style punt. So one of the biggest gaps in that was I would set one way to block. Our long snapper blocked at Stanford, and one of the gaps was a loop, right? If you loop the center, so if someone would start on my left, I'd snap while I'm not looking, they would come across my body. They would loop me every single practice. That way I would snap, get up, hit, and get out, right? And then sometimes I would get looped and then get blocked. In game, it never happened, right? When I played at like 10 snaps in college, but it never happened. But I was prepared for it. I was ready for it, right? Because if my nervous system is bulletproof, if my nervous system can handle the hurricane, it's going to handle a sprinkle. It's going to handle a light pour, right?
Okay, so let me ask you this then, because by definition, I guess that is mental training within the physical. So,
in a sense,
right? Like you weren't going to a mindset coach. You weren't going to a performance coach. You were going to practice and putting in physical reps, right? And so I guess talk to me about how parents are doing their kids a disservice by giving them more physical reps if there's a mental toughness component in those physical reps, right?
Well, first of all, shout out Coach Alomar for putting me through hell to prepare for those moments. I snapped a record field goal, school record, pretty sure Pac-12 record. Or no, it was a Pac-12 record. Take out, pretty sure. But, right, train in the worst conditions possible. Wet cleats. Wet footballs, no tape, no gloves, catch with no gloves, right? Crappy jerseys, right? Bad socks, keep yourself safe, but, don't practice what you're great at or what's easy all the time, right? Reps are important, becoming hardwired for success takes time. You want to repeat certain things, inside zone is like a pretty easy play in football, right? You run it over and over again. It's very, very basic, but like, it's a great question. There's 1,000 different ways I want to go right now and being pulled in my own mind.
Well, because the fact that you said that about, you guys preparing that way at Stanford, I just want to make sure parents are clear, because when they see this and they think, oh yeah, well, his coach is tough on him, I want to make sure that they understand.
Yeah, they're probably inside,
right? The
batting
difference.
with their gloves.
But what if they are? Like, what's the missing link?
You want to get progressively. It's like progressive overload
in
the gym, if you want to say that. And then you take a week off, right? So you get more difficult. You take a glove off. You hit with your shoes instead of your cleats, right? So you don't have a chance to dig into the ground, right? You might train one day where you didn't sleep well one night, or you're sick, right? You train in the worst conditions possible, not to get yourself necessarily on a surface level used to it, but so your nervous system doesn't overreact on game day. Does that make sense? Like, on a surface level, we understand it's raining. I understand I'm sick. I understand my coach doesn't like me. Train that in practice, right? Have the bullets fly before the bullets fly, right? But also in visualization, Michael Phelps does this very well. He probably does 20, 100 times the visualization compared to physical training. Wow. He imagines like a ripped swimsuit. He imagines his goggles falling off, getting cracked, And I heard this, his coach knew he was going to be great, but what would hold him back is not having perfect conditions. So his coach used to do it on purpose. Yeah. There was one competition, I think it was Olympic trials, where his coach lost his bag. Yeah. And he freaked out, right? Because it wasn't perfect.
He'd mess with his goggles too, right?
Mess with his goggles, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he did something, right? That's crazy. But in a not even in practice, in a competition, right? So that's crazy. But he visualized all sorts of situations, false starting, right? Being afraid. Like, there's only so many things that can happen in the pool, right? So it's a little bit easier. But he visualized everything. Everything. That way his body was programmed to react a certain way to certain things. Programmed for success. Wired for success. Not necessarily conscious for success. It becomes automatic.
I'm curious. What does a day in the life of J-Lo look like?
Right now?
Yeah, like what makes you who you are?
I get up every day and thank God that I'm alive again. Make my bed. I do one thing, so I do everything. Make sure there's no wrinkles in it. Brush my teeth. Get some water in right away. Nowadays, I'm going straight to the computer and working. Ideally, I'd get up. Like I went to Miami this past week, and I moved for 2 hours. Ran, stretched. Was just grateful to be alive. Grateful for the sun. Thankful for Florida. Thankful that I could be in that position to be where I was at. And then I just worked, and we had the group call Wednesday with Nick Sweeney, with Polaris, our killer entrepreneurs and athletes. Fire call. It was a life-altering call. It really was. And you could see me just excited with energy because I got out of my mind and into my body in the morning, right? My breath work, my meditation was done, right? My focus was trained. My focus muscle was warmed up. My nervous system was regulated, right? And just grateful to be alive, grateful to be in the moment, grateful for what I've been able to create, not what have I created, but what I've been able to create. Because God, my parents, my coaches, the people around me, and everybody who's been part of my life has made me into this person, right? Yeah, I've taken action, but there's also some responsibility and credit that has to be given as well. So like that's also a mind shift thing, right? Yeah, of course. I've had results. I've done great things, right? But what I've been able to create, not what have I created.
That's deep. I love that. That's a beautiful perspective. And yeah, it is very much that it's a privilege.
It's a privilege.
You're so blessed. We are so blessed.
There's rights in there too, but it's also a privilege, right? And that's also a discerning factor that I go through a lot. It's like, what's a privilege and what's a right? And how to really discern between the two. Because there's things you earn through action, right? Like I said, but what afforded you to that, right? What opportunity was given to you? Who put you in that position? Did you? Was it fully you or was it somebody else? It's a lot there. You asked me about a day in the life, and now we're talking about privileges and rights.
Well, and that brings to me another question that I want to ask for a lot of these athletes out there. So a lot of athletes out here say, I'm working hard. I'm working hard. How do they know if they're doing enough?
Can you look yourself in the mirror right now? Or look me in my eyes and tell me you're doing everything that you can do to go where you want to go? The answer should always be no. Because if it's yes, you're not being honest with yourself. That's a tricky one. Because how do you emotionally handle always saying no?
Yes. Where do you go from there?
It's a great one. I wouldn't start that with somebody new. You never know. You'll never know if what you're doing is going to get you to where you want to go. You'll never know.
And that's kind of the beauty of it.
That is the beauty of it, right?
That's the thrill. Otherwise, if you knew the result,
would you even work?
Yeah, would it even be worth it?
Would you work, right? So having faith that something's going to work out, right? Can you look in the mirror and be satisfied and feel accomplished and feel pride that you've served others, that you are faithful to God, right? If you believe in God, that your parents are proud of you, right? It's a tough one. Right? But once you can get to that point where you can say no comfortably and be excited about the areas you can grow in, that's when you know you're doing what you need to do. Right? It applies to anywhere in life, not just athletics. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I asked somebody that on a coaching call, never just pulled it out of thin air. And he was like, well, yeah, I can answer yes. I'm like, well, you just told me 20 minutes ago what you're not doing. Right? It's never going to be yes. Right? We all need our downtime. We need our breaks. Right? We're going to mess up. We're going to make mistakes. Right? So it's never always yes. But like, how nitpicky can you be? Right? And we're breaking it down a little bit, but I think that answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great answer. Well, I just want to say I appreciate you. You've been awesome in this journey. You've taught me a lot. You've encouraged me to up my game and continue to learn and better myself. And I'm grateful to have people like yourself around me and for all of the great things that you're doing for the world, not just for me, not just for you. So I love this, and I'm excited for where we're going, man.
I'm going to soak that one in. But I am going to say I would highly invest in buying in our stock right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Don't miss it, man. I mean it. If you're an athlete, if you're a person who wants to better themselves, please don't miss the chance to invest in yourself. You can invest in a lot of things, but don't miss the opportunity to invest in yourself.
You know, I asked you the question the other day. How much would you invest in yourself to feel conviction, to feel faith, to feel like $1 million? There's
no limit.
There's no limit.
It's priceless.
Right.
Right. Your life, to live to the fullness and richness of your life, fulfilled and full of purpose. You can't put a price on that. Right? A car, a house, a goal, a dream. That's one thing, but to live with full purpose and fulfillment, it's priceless.
Why do some athletes fall out of love with their sport? And I'm going to say it again since I'm on my phone.
Ooh.
Why do some athletes fall out of love with their sport? And it typically happens in college and at the professional level as well. Why do they fall out of love with their sport? It's a strong question.
That's a very strong question. And it to be fully transparent, it hurts me to hear it because I was one of those athletes. And in my honest opinion, why do people fall out of love with their sport? Is because they forget why they're playing, why they're doing it. What do you love about the game? Right? For me, when I grew up playing baseball, it was just being on that field, just being on the grass, just being free. You're so present, right? Football was the same way. You're just present. But what I'm doing right now is remembering what I loved about the game. And so why I think people fall out of love with it is because they put so much pressure on the outcome and they forget why they're playing the game. Like, why were they playing the game in the first place? Why, when they're a little kid, did they want to play college ball? Because as a kid, money and all that didn't mean anything, right? You knew that you loved flowing around with your teammates. You knew you loved the buzz in the air, the crowd, the music,
the moments,
being like hitting the ground and bouncing back up. Like there's just so, and I can see it in your eyes. I know you're reminiscing, man. Seriously, like there's so much to love about the game. But as soon as we start saying, I have to be perfect, I have to prove myself to the coach, I have to lock down this receiver, and if I don't, it's an attack on me.
It's a need.
Right, a need, yeah. And it's coming from a needy place, that place of lack.
Fight or flight. Our body's like, it's dangerous. It's a threat to us, right? Might be a threat to your starting spot or your playing time, right? But if you view it that way, as a do or die moment, well, chances are, unless your nervous system's prepared to do, you're going to die. And let's get creative. Let's slow the game down, right? Let's slow our body down. Let's be in more control, right? Let's trust our teammates. Let's trust the coaching staff. Let's trust cover 4 here on 4th and goal at the 5, right? Let's trust that my responsibility is going to put me in a position to succeed, right? And if it doesn't, well, okay, we'll go in the film room on Monday and figure it out, right? Not harp on 10-2 versus 11-1. Not harp on 7-5 versus 8-4, right? You don't want to let one mistake turn over. You want to let one mistake propel you, right? Why do athletes fall in love with their sport? I would like to answer this question a little bit. They become too result oriented, especially in the college level. There's a lot of pressure that comes with being at the college level. I experienced it. Langston, you experienced it. We both experienced it. And you become so obsessed with, I have to perform. I have to outperform my teammates. I need to perform in practice. I need to perform in practice, right? Oh, I messed up a rep now. You know, what does head coach think of me, right? Head coach sees one rep of you performing bad, you might think, right? But I would encourage you, like I've said, propel from those mistakes, right? When you visualize, when you see yourself failing, see yourself getting up, sprint, right? You miss a tackle, get back up, sprint at the ball. Get back up and sprint at the ball, right? It's almost like you crave failure at a certain point because you know it fuels you. You invite failure instead of reject failure, right? You invite embarrassment instead of reject embarrassment. You invite your feelings and let them propel you and not reject them and sit back and complain. I wish I had me 5 years ago. All right. I'll take a question.
Let me pivot.
Yeah, I'll take a question from you.
Can you take us through a breathwork sequence that athletes could use in game when nerves come up right now?
What I'll say is breathwork is used, in my opinion, as the gas and brake pedal for our nervous system. And what I'll explain a little bit is, we know what flow state is, right? Peak performance, it's called the window of tolerance. When we're in hyperarousal, anxious, performance anxiety is getting to us, we're overthinking, really critical. We need to downshift our nervous system, deeper inhales, and then also longer exhales. The other way around, sometimes when you want the game to be over, when you just want to be in bed, the performance feels overwhelming, you're tired even, you're in hypoarousal, you're under the window of tolerance, and so you flip your inhales and exhales. You want shorter, quicker inhales and even shorter exhales. So typically pregame, a lot of young athletes are in hyperarousal, they're excited, they're anxious, they're nervous, and they're afraid of making mistakes, and we want to get them into flow state, right? So they can minimize thinking and maximize performance and opportunity. So I'm going to take you through I guess 2 or 3 minute breath work that can get you here. So I want you to close your eyes. I just want you to relax your body. I want you to be either feet flat or on your heels. And what you're going to do is just sit there and find a good breathing rhythm for a second. And just sit in silence for about 10 to 15 seconds. Now you're going to start to breathe 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out, nice and full, nice and deep, no pauses or hitches at the top. 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out, here for about a minute. And what this is going to do, guys, this is going to create a balance between your autonomic nervous system, your sympathetic, your fight and flight, and your parasympathetic, your rest and digest state. We want to be nice and centered in there, that window of tolerance. No pauses or hitches at the top or bottom. Good. After your next breath, you're going to transition into 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out. We want to calm the nervous system that is probably on fight or flight, that is probably anxious, nervous, and moving at 1,000 miles an hour. We want to tame that energy. We want to shift down and slow reality down in order to make better decisions. And you would do that for about 2 or 3 minutes if you want to come out of that. How do you feel?
Wow. I feel very calm, very centered.
You have a second question for me?
Or, Dude,
okay. Well, you've got like 20 questions.
I have plenty of questions for you, my man. That's true. All right. So, how do you have good self-talk in game and before? I guess define what good self-talk is.
Good self-talk is going to be something that your body accepts, not necessarily positive. And so I actually really do not like the term self-talk at all, because most people have it wrong. Most people have it backwards. Your thoughts, right? Your conscious thoughts and your subconscious beliefs are typically different. One supports the other, sometimes one doesn't. And so, for example, like let's say you're a soccer player and you're going to kick a penalty kick, right? Ronaldo does this very well. Ronaldo will sit there and say, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, or something like that. But what he's done over time is he's implemented visualization in the process and has figured out emotionally how he wants to feel ahead of time. And he's figured out how he wants to handle failure. And he's created these scenarios with a bunch of conditions, rain, if he's feeling sick, he's done all sorts of things. And that way his body is ready to handle conditions and certain emotions that may come up. So therefore, during that visualization, he has used a mantra like, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, and matched it with an emotion that he wants to feel on the field. So therefore, if you don't use a mantra, if you don't use self-talk ahead of time, it's going to ignore you as well when push comes to shove, when the bullets fly, right? So you kind of, to segue a little bit, you kind of default to the level that your nervous system is at, that you've trained your belief system to be, right? You're only as good as your training. You're only as good as your belief system. You're only as good as your nervous system allows you to be. And so self-talk, to me, if you're relying on self-talk without the proper preparation, right? It's just like anything else, right? If you don't get your swings in as a baseball player, right? If you don't get your free throws in as a basketball player, right? It's the same thing. Self-talk's not going to be there for you on game day, and your body's going to reject it, and it's actually going to put you backwards because you're lying to yourself and what you might or might not believe. Does that answer your question?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess a follow-up question to that, how do these young athletes, without coaching, like right now, what's something that they can do to get their nervous system, their subconscious, to believe that they can handle these moments, that they can be great?
Yeah.
So that self-talk actually means something to them.
Great question. So what I would do is I would take them, say they got like a 5 or 10 minute call with someone, like a youth athlete or a high school athlete. What I would do, if they wanted to get their self-talk right, if they wanted to create a mantra, I would take them through a breath work to lower their nervous system, kind of create a little more malleable state, I guess, within their nervous system and mind, and take them through a visualization. And if they're like a soccer player, take them through the penalty kick. Say, go back to a penalty kick in which you didn't feel great, right? Now, do the penalty kick, rerun it in your mind. If you didn't do well, right, what I would tell you to do is, okay, do it well, replay it, get familiar with the environment again, and then react to it how you reacted to it. Okay, let's rewind. Do it again, fail, and then react to it well. And then react to it well again and again and again. That way you're training yourself to handle failure a certain way. You're also training yourself on how you really want to remember making a mistake, right? And then I would have the athlete run back and then see themselves succeeding in flow state, not in control, right? Because sometimes we need to surrender control to gain control, right? So I would take them through a very detailed visualization, and that would take about 5 or 10 minutes, and hopefully they'd be able to do a couple things. One, train their penalty kicks better, right? Getting more repetition, get more flow with it. 2, train their nervous system to believe that no matter what happens, I'm going to stay calm, I'm going to stay centered, right? Even during the good, even, if we score a goal, right? And 3, teach them how to handle emotions well, right? The emotions of the game, staying calm, staying centered, not getting too high, not getting too low, right? Building that consistent base, building that consistent flow that they can fall back upon when things do go wrong, when the bullets are really flying, right? So,
Gotcha. Awesome, man.
yeah.
Well, I hope you guys heard that, because any athlete out there, anybody out there, that's something that we can directly apply right now, regardless of the situation. We all have a situation that we didn't perform exactly how we wanted to, and it's up to us to work through that, right? It's our responsibility. It's not our fault that everything happens to us, but it is our responsibility to do something about it. And if you want to be the best that you can be, listen to J. Lowe. It's great stuff. And I say it jokingly, but I really mean it. Go back, see those tough moments, see yourself failing, and then make an adjustment. See how you would rather have seen yourself respond to that failure. And then see yourself improving that situation. And there's a lot that we can do with that. But yeah, if there's anything we take away, or you take away, take that and run.
I have a question for you that I did not write down, but that comes up from what you just said, E plus R equals O, event plus response equals outcome. Explain that to me like I'm 5, right? And then tell me, if I've never heard of that and I've never heard of the philosophy, tell me how I should run with it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, so E plus R equals O, event plus response equals outcome. So event would be the situation that happened. So let's use specifics. You talked about soccer. Let's take it to basketball. Let's say you're a basketball player and you go to the free throw line down 1 in the last 10 seconds of the game. You got 2 shots. You miss the first. Now you can tie, save it, maybe take us to overtime. You miss a second. In that moment when you miss the first, you have control of how you respond. Of course, you don't want to miss, right? But in that moment, you have the ability to respond. How do you respond? Do you say, okay, I missed it, but I have every opportunity to make this one, calm myself down, take a breath, visualize a time when I've made a free throw, made both free throws, and all of that leads you to your outcome. So in this situation, the event was missing the first free throw. Your response before you miss a second was, oh no, what if I miss a second? And what's the outcome? The outcome was missing the second one. In that situation, every time we have an event happen, every time we have any situation happen, good or bad, we have the complete ability to choose how we respond. Now, like you always say, we fall back to the level of our preparation, to the level of our training. So that plays an important role. Before we go into an event, we want to make sure that we're prepared, right? When we are prepared, we feel different, right? And I'm sure you can attest to that. So in that moment, I would tell the athlete, you missed the first free throw. That's the event. What's your response? What would the best response be that you could have to make that the best possible outcome? Well, there's a couple things. I think one would be step back, close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, slow exhale, and see yourself sinking that next free throw. Nothing but net. Swish. But not only that, feel it. Feel, let's go. I do this. The conviction, the confidence. And then your outcome is the outcome. But most importantly, it's your response. So I don't know if that was 2 minutes or 3, but yeah.
It definitely was a good one. I closed my eyes there for a second. Just imagined it. One thing I will say, like 2 things there. A lot of athletes, actually all humans, hold stress in their shoulders, specifically in their traps. So I tell quarterbacks this. I've told baseball players this, and now I want to tell basketball players this: relax your traps. When you shoot, when you throw, when you swing.
Help me when I shot my free throws after you told me that.
But seriously, relax your traps because we hold stress there,
Yeah.
right? And so we don't want to lose much muscle potential. We don't want to mess up our form through tension, right? So with that, how do you detach from results?
Yeah.
Because, missing the first free throw, right, it's out of your control, right? So, I mean, the second one might have more pressure, right? But let's say you respond well to that first free throw miss. You get up to the second one, you control everything you can control to the best of your extent, and you miss. Okay? I don't remember how much time was left on the clock, but it looks like it's not very optimal. Right? To win, how do you control that, right? What would you do? What would you tell an athlete to do? And then I guess, what would you tell the team as well? Like you're their mental performance coach, or you're, whatever. Like, what are you telling the team as well? Like, to support that player who's doing everything they can, right? And then at the end of the day, just couldn't come through for whatever reason.
Well, first of all, the process is far more important than the result, right? Who we become in the process of playing our sport, going to the next level, all of that is far more important than the result. So I would start with that. I would also throw in, how many of you guys know Kobe Bryant? Everybody raise their hand.
Hopefully.
Right? One of the most feared and respected players of all time. One of the highest scorers of all time. Well, how many of you knew that he missed the most shots ever in the NBA? right? And some of them would be like, wow. And I would say that to say, you don't remember Kobe by the shots that he missed, right? You remember him by the respect that people have for him because of his sickening work ethic and his ability to just continue to shoot if he misses, right? And so I would tell that kid who missed the shot or those shots, hey, look, I know it hurts. It sucks, right? But you're going to learn from this, right? This situation is going to teach you about yourself, right? You're going to get put in this situation again. You've handled, you didn't handle this how you wanted to, but now you can go home and prepare for this situation and build off of this. And I would tell the team, hey, this can happen to any of us, right? But do you love your teammate any less because he missed those shots, right? If you do, we got to talk. But in reality, it's like, hey, in team sports, we know that we're going to fail.
Right.
But failing doesn't mean that you fail. Failure is feedback. And we love to say that. We love to talk about that. And I love to tell everybody that. I love to tell my family that. I love to tell my clients that, my athletes. But seriously, and I have to remind myself that it's like if I'm not performing optimally and I don't step up to the plate and hit a home run, or deliver the way I want to, it's like it's part of the process, man.
Right.
And
that leads me to what I would tell the team. If I think that average high school basketball team in Florida plays 25 games in a season. Let's just say it's 25, right? If you've got this long of a season, right, a game is about that much. And so let's say like they're a really good program. They could average like 22, maybe like 20 wins a year. Is the difference between 21-4 and 22-3 going to make the difference on whether they make the playoffs or not? I hope not.
I don't think
and
so.
if it does, right, they're solid. They're in great competition anyways. Right. But you have to look at a bigger picture. It's like, okay, yeah, we missed both free throws, right? Lost a game. Okay, why is it working for me? What else in the game could we have done to not been in this position, right? Why is it working for me though? Right? I've been using that question a lot with people recently and me as well, because everything has something beneficial, right? All situations, circumstances, events have something beneficial for us at the end of the day, but it's the opposite way around. It's the opposite way around as well, right? They have something that may be hurting us or, putting us backwards, right? But if you look at a bigger picture, it's like, this is just a minor fraction of the entire season, but it's magnified in the moment. How do you handle that? Well, for the kid, it's like, cool, I'm walking off the court the same way as if I would have won, right? I'm taking a shower, right, and cleaning up as if I would have won. I'm going to shower off the game, right? And I'm going to go early to practice and shoot free throws next time, right? Try to put myself in the same situation, maybe visualize it again, go back, and be in good and constant communication with my coach. Just be like, look, I thought I had it, right? I thought I was doing well. I controlled everything, but what's going on? Like, what did you see, right? What did my teammates see? Maybe what did my parents see, right? And use it to propel, right? Because a lot of athletes, especially in high school, like would have taken that moment, like I got to go to school tomorrow. Everyone's going to talk about the missed free throws and, my coach is going to be on me. But if you want to be great, if you want to get ahead of everybody else, right? While they fall, right? Flip it. How can I get better? Right? What did I do earlier in the game that messed me up, that put us in that position? Or playing a really good team, right? Let's say they were a 10 or 20 point team, that were 10 or 20 point better team, right? Okay, we were in a great position anyways. We put ourselves in a position to win. We gave ourselves the best fighting chance to put ourselves in a position to win. We just couldn't come through for X. Or, hey, we shot 20% from the 3-point line, right? The free throws are immaterial, right? We got to be better from the 3-point line. Or, hey, we gave up twice as many offensive rebounds as they did. Okay, rebounding is very controllable compared to free throw shooting, especially towards the end of a game. So it's a much bigger picture than a very minor moment, right? But, I mean, of course, there's other moments in other sports where it's like, okay, you missed a fast break layup. Okay, well, that's That's a nerve issue,
You
right?
drop the last out of the game to lose the game.
Right, exactly. And there's definitely scenarios in which it's like some things are routine or some are not, right?
Yeah.
But it's always a bigger picture, right? And if you can understand that, then that your routines, the way you sleep, the way you eat, the way you hydrate, and your games, it all compounds, right?
Yeah.
So if you let, it's the last 7 seconds of a game define your career, right? Then it's very immature and disrespectful to all the work that you've put in.
Wow.
Right? All the work that coaches and all the effort that they've put into you, your parents, right? And how your teammates have supported you. But it's very disrespectful to the work that more importantly that you've put in, right? And all the games and all the performances that you've had that are great just because you missed a moment, right?
Yeah.
It's very immature actually to define how you feel based off one moment. But it's also, nobody has that perspective, right?
It's human. I love what you said about walk off the court as if you won the game, right? Because that doesn't define you. That moment doesn't define who you are, right? What defines who you are is you define who you are. And it's important to define yourself before you go into battle, before you go into practice, right? Know what you look like, what you show up like, how you move, and you stay consistent to that. All right. So
that leads me to another point real quick. Like our nervous system doesn't, back to the self-talk a little bit, it always doesn't accept, I guess, our talk or our thoughts. It accepts actions, feelings, and beliefs more than anything, right? Okay, you missed 2 free throws. All right, let's sprint back on defense, right? Let's get a rebound, right? I was talking to one of my new players today, Denzel Hines, Riverside, California, Division I basketball player. And right now he's struggling with rebounding, leadership, and communication. And I'm like, you should be excited, right? You could be struggling with shooting and get on the court, right? But you're fighting for playing time, right? Or you're fighting to start actually. And you've got 3 things that are lacking in your game that are controllable. Let's close the gap. Let's close it this week, right? You're Dennis Rodman on the boards, right? And you're Tom Brady as a leader, right? So controlling the controllables matter extremely well. And then closing the gap and weaknesses. We've talked about that. It's on another YouTube video of mine, but extremely important. Not to interrupt you. Who's up for a question?
I got a question for you.
Okay.
All right. So when you're going through a slump, pitching or hitting, how do you deal with the negative thoughts that creep in? And how do you change the outlook and narrative?
It's a great question because baseball is probably the sport where you can get most inconsistent. One of the biggest sports where it's like it's a slippery slope in terms of confidence, hubris, right? So with that, what I would tell a baseball player is like if you're going through a slump, right? Like 3 or 4 games in a row, you may not have a hit, right? You may not have any barrels, right? Okay, let's get back to the basics. Let's break it down. Why? Look at the film. How do you feel, right? You're probably forcing too much, right? You're probably, trying to control the outcome. You have a need for the outcome. But when you try to control the outcome, when you try to control an outcome and when you need an outcome, it's disrespectful to your training. Think about it, right? Because we train to become automatic. We train to become subconscious, right? So that way on the field, we just show up and we do, right? So when you try to control it, it's disrespectful to your training. It's disrespectful to your coaches. It's disrespectful to yourself, more importantly, right? So I would say, hey, look, all right, we're 0-2. Fall out of the box. Take a glove off, right? Or, undo your glove. I never played baseball, but undo a glove, right? And just sit there, put your bat down, take a 2-second breath in and like a 6-second breath out and just relax your traps and just be grateful, right? Be grateful that you can be mad at yourself because you have a higher expectation because you can play better, right? Be grateful that you're in that position, right? Like just like with Denzel, I'm like, be grateful that you can fight for a starting spot. You could be number 15 on the roster. You could be 15th down the depth chart.
You could not even be playing.
He could not even be playing, right? He's transferred a couple times. And so be grateful that you can have that expectation for yourself. Give a big smile to yourself, let your nervous system know you're safe and happy, and go out and hit, right? You go 0 for 3, or excuse me, not 0 for 3. You strike out, right? At least you strike out swinging, comfortable. And also I would tell a batter, just 85%, nice and smooth through the ball, turn well, right? For a pitcher, it's a little different, right? For a pitcher, let me think about this for a second because I've never worked with a pitcher. but I'm trying to think about what they would do. You have to be very emotionally centered. I think it was Cam Schlittler recently for the Yankees. I made a reel on this. He had 11 or 12 strikeouts in a winner-take-all game in the biggest rivalry in almost all of sports, definitely in baseball, right? And he didn't get excited. He didn't clap. He barely got excited throughout the entire thing. And he would have thrown, I think, a complete game. He had no walks in 8 innings, right? And Aaron Boone pulled an Aaron Boone. But, right?
It's a different story.
That's a different story. But that's a different story. But Cam Schlittler had a very centered performance. He was centered the entire time. Now he played very well, so it was easier, right? He was in a flow. He was very confident in himself, but he didn't get too high, right? And you could see it in his body. It was just like, it's just another pitch. It's the next pitch. It's the next pitch. And it kind of goes back to the time frame, right? He threw over 100. One pitch was less than 1% of his night.
Wow.
What if he threw a bad one to like Duran, and Duran bombed it, right? Okay, it's 4-1. I'm still in control. I still own the Red Sox, right? I still own the state of Massachusetts, right? It's from there. Right. So I think Schlittler is a good player to watch. He's not playing anymore. I think they got eliminated. But
so if a pitcher's in a slump, he can't find the zone. Last 3 outings, he's come in and just all over the place. Walk, walk, walk. Coach comes out to the mound again. What do you have them do? How do you correct that?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because this is real, man. You see it all the time, and, part of the game.
You take a good long time out, right? And you just get your head out of the game. Breathe. Maybe hit a little 6-6. Talk with your catcher, right? Your catcher should support you, right? I hope so, right? Right. Be gentle on yourself. Be critical as well. Like, okay, this is why, right? But also be gentle. Don't try to control the situation, right?
Critical meaning?
Critical, just like being honest with why.
Okay.
If you know why you have a yip, why you're in a slump. What?
I said that word.
The yip, yeah. Be critical. Like, okay, why? Am I throwing too hard? Right? Am I trying too hard? Am I worried? Am I anxious? Right? And understand that. Know what your weak points are as a player, as a person. Right? Okay, I don't react to certain things very well. When I throw a pitch high, I don't react well. Okay. Well, let's use this game as a stepping stone to react emotionally better. Right? When you've walked 3 or 4 guys in a row, right? And it's not much I can do to help you there, right? I can give you all the breathing techniques in the world to handle it in the moment, right? At that point, you got nothing to lose, right? And so be grateful for the moment, right? Go to the dugout, handle it well, talk to your coach, be in communication with your coach, right? And then go back, visualize it, mess up, handle it well, mess up, handle it well. Then see yourself correcting yourself. Get back in the flow state, get back in the game. Don't let a couple walks define, like I said with Schlittler, 100 pitches.
What I hear coming up a lot from you, and this isn't new to me, but I just want to reiterate it, is gratitude and visualization, right? Man, I'm grateful to be here with you.
Me as well, brother.
And I mean that, like,
Yeah, I do.
Carson behind the camera, I appreciate you. All of you watching, it's a pleasure to be here, man. We never know when our last breath is. I'll just say it like that. And appreciate this moment. And I think what you said about having gratitude for being able to play, being able to be on the mound, being able to be on the roster. It's a privilege, man. It's a blessing. So many people are so less fortunate, and it's such a perspective shifter, right? It takes you out of me, and puts you back into, wow, I'm really here with everybody, right? So that, and then just seeing your success, seeing your set downs and handling it.
Right.
So I love that.
It's also like, go back to the bigger picture. Baseball players, say you're late in high school. You've probably played between little league through high school. I don't know, a couple hundred games, 400 or 500. Let's just say like 400 or 500, right? You're going to let a couple games define your career, like 0.2% of your games define your career, right? It's immature, right? That should be your excitement.
Yeah.
Because those are your gaps between where you are now and where you want to be, right? So if you can fix those, it's like, who's going to get me?
I love that too, because it's like in the moment, everything always seems so much more serious.
Sure.
But when you have great people around you like yourself, and you step back and you have that perspective, it's like, yeah, I mean, seriously, like I'm going to waste a week, a month of my energy on something that's not even a percentage of my life, you know? So I really love that perspective. Like it's just one moment.
And
don't let it define you.
To put it as an example as well, I had 4 sales calls last week. I went 3 for 4.
That's fire.
Guess after which one I was most excited.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious because of the way you posed the question. But I'm gonna say it when you failed. But why?
Okay, so I had an interesting prospect, and he wasn't very convicted in our offer. Offered him group coaching for a lower price, didn't bite. Okay, cool. Don't want to help yourself. That's fine, right? That's the perspective I have. But I came out of that call, called Nick, my boss on the Polaris side. By the way, Nick Sweeney is a co-founder of the Coherence Breathwork app that'll be linked in the description. Check it out. Coherence. I'm on a 200-day streak right now, and it has completely changed my life. Breathwork and the power of the breath is extremely crucial if you want to be an elite performer in any area of your life, but back.
Shout out Nick Sweeney, by the way. Awesome individual.
Yeah. Back to what I was saying about the excitement after the one call I had, because I knew I did well, right? Some of the discovery I messed up on a little bit. And then I sent it to Nick. He goes, you did amazing, right? You did really well. It was just a little bit of fog of war. And I'm like, let's raise prices. We doubled prices after we missed a sales call. I'd never been more convicted in a loss because I knew where I was wrong, right? And I knew presenting value is something I struggle with on sales calls a little bit, right? Fixed it, patched it up, went 3 for 3 for the rest of the week, right? And I was excited after that, right? Made money after the 3 for 3, right? But I was excited after the one I missed. I don't know. Maybe I'm psychotic a little bit, but but like that mindset shift has been critical for me because I get excited about knowing what my weaknesses are, right? I want to be challenged. I want to grow, right? I want to be a high elite level individual, right? And as I grow, as I get better at sales, at coaching, as an athlete still, right? I still try to work out, still try to lift. And I grow in certain areas, but some don't come up with me, right? This gap's going to get a lot bigger and bigger. And this is going to show up really well and be really exposed as I grow, right? It's just like the business that we've talked about this multiple times. If something is off in the funnel, right, it's going to become more magnified of a problem.
Yeah.
Because you're too afraid to handle it, right? Handle it now, right? While it's still not as much of a problem. And the ROI is incredible. I'm going to ask a question here, a couple maybe, from former Division II all-conference linebacker Alejandro Santiago. Full disclosure, I was a teammate of Alejandro Santiago, but I did not play with him. My football career was ended due to a medical retirement during that season last 2024 at St. Anselm. So he's got 4 great questions here. Wow. Fear and anxiety can be a positive impact to performance in athletics. So fear and anxiety can be a positive impact to performance in athletics. Could someone take fear and anxiety and turn it into a positive or almost as fuel or ammunition to do better?
That's a great question.
And I've got a couple more from him. So here we go.
Yeah. I mean, immediately I think about kind of what you just said, right? About that one failure. Instead of slowing you down, right? Your perspective on it was, how can I take this and improve on it? and use it to make me a more elite, a more empowering version of myself. And so, for one, fear is an illusion, right? Fear is something within you that is not true, but that your body accepts is true. And so taking fear and anxiety and going deep, right? Like, I think a lot of people are surface level, right? And I believe fear and anxiety are there, but if you go deeper, where is this fear and anxiety coming from? And you do the work to understand it, to understand why it's there, to understand what's causing it, to understand what triggers it, to understand where it's rooted and get to the root. There's real power in the root, right? You hear a lot of people say you're putting a Band-Aid, right, on something that requires you to get to the root cause. And so getting to the root of fear and anxiety, what's causing it? Why am I feeling afraid? Why do I feel anxious right now? Where is this coming from? And so to get to that root and to start working on that builds true conviction. That builds true power. And that builds a true you, right? You overcame something that was holding you back, which only makes you a more empowering person, a more able, more capable person. And so from there, it's just that fuel. It's that love. And love is the most powerful thing. You hear this all the time. But when you can get to those fears and anxieties and love yourself, regardless of having those, and love and continue to love even when those come up, that's a place of true power. And what was the last part of that question?
1 second. Turning it into fuel and ammunition.
Yeah. And so it's just that. It's just, if you can overcome yourself, if you can overcome, a challenge, let's just say a level in a game, right? We've all played a game in our lives. When you overcome that, you feel great. But when you overcome something within yourself, it's unlike anything. And, you just add that to another part of your toolbox of, this is who I am. This is what I'm capable of. And I can overcome anything, right? I can do anything. We are limitless, and we are our own limitation,
right?
But we're also our own freedom to be whoever we want to be.
That leads me to two things. My definition of anxiety is our mind protecting us from the worst case scenario. So performance anxiety, right, is basically the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of messing up, the fear of making a mistake, right? Oh, when I run this out route and I beat the corner, right, and I've got a wide open ball, my fear is to drop it through my hands, right? Instead of focusing on what can I control? Okay, I can look the ball in. I can grab it with my hands. I can look the ball all the way into my hands, tuck it, get upfield.
Yeah.
Instead of going, right, it's about that mindset shift. I hate saying that because I always mix it up. Fear. Irrational and rational fears. We both read the book Power of the Subconscious Mind, Joseph Murphy. It's $5. If you don't get it, you hate getting better. But it's $5 on Amazon. Fear. Irrational and rational. Rational fears, fear of heights, the fear of getting hit by a car when you're walking on the street. Irrational fears, like dropping the ball, right? Do you believe that, and I've said this before, that any and all fear is self-created?
Yeah. I mean, I think not always. I think we receive it from others, and it's up to us to accept it. So to an extent, I think, yes, fear is self-created. I think the way you're asking it is, like, is it something that we actually need to believe?
I think fear actually exposes our weak points in a way, right? Let's say, like, First game of the season, you're a little more afraid to mess up. You might play a little more free, right? Depending on who you are as a player, how you've prepared, all that kind of stuff. But maybe it's like your first game at the college level. What are you scared of messing up? Typically something that you may not be great at.
Right.
So fear can be a tool for growth. If you can put your ego aside, right, and say, okay, I'm not great with this skill. I'm going to go suck at it in training, and I'm going to keep doing it over and over and over again. I'm going to get coached on it. I'm going to watch film on it, and then I'm going to go visualize it 100 times before I go to bed.
All right. Jake, it's been awesome. Final question. What is the impact that you want to have on this world?
Wow. I want to use my story and leverage that to impact not only millions of athletes, but millions of people. It's already changed multiple times. I think at first I was working with former student athletes. Then I started working like with AJ, baseball player I work with out of here, Orlando, Florida. And then I'm also working with athletes, but I'm working with entrepreneurs now. And I have found joy out of working with all of them. That is a great question, though. I know my purpose is to transform millions of lives. I want to have a social media presence that is so broad and wide in terms of, yeah, of course, I want the following, I want the numbers, like who doesn't? But I want it to be that way because I want people to know who I am, what I went through, and why it can change their life as well. So, Langston, what about you, since you asked me?
Yeah. I think about this a lot. And I think it falls right into alignment with what I believe my purpose is, right? And so I was in Cancun 2 weeks ago with my wife, and a question came to me. Just I think deep questions are one of the most important things you can do in your life. And I asked it to a group of friends, and I said, what do you believe your purpose is? And for me, what came to me was to make the most of the gifts that God gave me and to help others do the same. And so the impact that I want to have on the world is to take my gifts and make them as strong as I can possibly make them so that I can help as many people build their gifts to be as strong as they can be, and just to spread that love and have people understand what it means to love themselves. And I believe that's through God. So a long-winded answer to say, bring people to God, to know themselves, and to make the most of their gifts.
What do you want to bring to people? Because I think for me, I want to bring faith to people, right? Through God and also through the universe and through themselves, right? Because faith in God and faith in yourself are very similar, but they're not necessarily the same. They're very similar, but they're not identically the same. And so I want to bring faith to people. I want to bring conviction to people. I want people to know that they're the creator of their life, and that really anything is possible through process and not necessarily results. What about you?
That's real. Yeah. I mean, I think, without faith, the works are dead, But I think the biggest thing is just understanding that the love that you have for somebody that you love the most, the love that somebody who loves you the most has for you, doesn't compare. It's infinitely less than what God has for you. God's love for you is infinitely stronger than any love you can imagine for somebody else or somebody having for you. And to help people understand that, there's a peace. And so I want people to understand what love really is. And I believe that's through God. And when you have that, it's like, of course we strive. Of course we know we deserve to accomplish so much, and we want to, and to help others. But at the end of the day, it's like, we're good. we are good. As long as you are tapped in with your creator, I need nothing. I lack nothing. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I see it in you, and I've seen you grow so much in your faith, and it's beautiful.
Guys, thank you for watching up to this point. Thank you for watching today's podcast. If you're interested in our work anymore, follow us on Instagram at JLowe Transforms, JLOWE Transforms, and at Coach Langston. They'll be linked in the description. Otherwise, have a great day. Thank you for watching, and peace.
Until next time.